another edition of the series, All Marketing, Everything Hype. I'm your host, Ame. Today, I want us to do things a bit differently. I'll be touching on, how to ace interviews. Yeah, so so why is this topic there to me? I think I've had quite an interesting career. About 11 years of experience moving across different industries, media, tech, and now professional services. But before then, I had spent quite a number of years in the media space, uh, and I did something very drastic. What you call drastic September 2020. I took a major leap, by leaving the media space completely. And this was what I would essentially call the prime of my career. I was getting a bit of recognition. I just moved from just being a digital lead to doing so much more. We were building something that was basically going to disrupt the entire industries. So this was basically an indigenous media group, with different legs. There were radio stations in about 6 cities, different dials, and six different radio stations speaking to six different audiences. There were TV stations, about, I think at the last count, there were 13 of them, different teams. There was pop culture, there was the hardcore news, there was the fashion, there was the music, there was the general entertainment, basically that spoke to different audiences. There was the digital leg of it where we were building about three apps, a VOD, apps for the other properties as well. And then we're doing annual events, talking award ceremony, flying in talents from different countries, and then the 3 days, 4 days, 100 hours festivals that we did. So September 2020, I made a decision to leave that space completely for a number of reasons, which I will share. But before then, I remember putting together a virtual event. This was the height of the COVID. I'm one of the first players, to jump into the virtual experiences. Remember single-handedly putting together something that we call the Sound City Virtual Concerts and Conversations, which was basically, putting together talents across Africa, Europe, Asia, several other continents, and then bringing them to one platform to basically one entertain, and then have very important conversations. That event, we had Nick Demura, who was a creative director for Justin Bieber. Tiwa Savage was on board. DJ Diamond Cuts that did stuff, for Joe Biden during his campaign. We had a Chike, we had Mercedes Benson, we had DJ Dime Piece, we have Rivani from Tanzania, Ice Prince Vector down here. With a long lineup, and I basically would say I single-handedly, you know, put together that document, you know, um, put together the plan, what we really wanted to achieve, you know, from putting together a strategy to reaching out to the talent, making sure they understood what we're trying to do, and then managing and doing the logistics, and then setting it up right, and then promotions, making sure we get people to come on board to watch them do everything that they would like to do. It was huge. It was a success by all metrics. From that experience, we took it off to do proper TV live performances. The very first self media groups that were doing it both on TV and radio. Before several of them jumped in. Before the MTV base, before the African Magic one that that took us on sponsorship to do. The lineup still brings a lot of memories. But something happened. Around that time, a friend of mine was doing music, and we started talking. Music on the side. And somehow the conversation moved to pensions. What was earning pension wise. And I remember I didn't even have a pension. I just left school. So some context. That the media group essentially groomed me right from school up until I left school. So there were a lot of things I really didn't know. But that conversation with a friend was a eye opener. Where you realize that you're not even earning pension. So I basically practically After that conversation, the following day, I woke up, handed in my resignation and walked away from all of it. I was doing so much, but I was insanely broke, incredibly broke. There were many challenges, but like I said, the final straw was discovering that my pension earnings amounted to nothing. In my 8 years with the company, I never received a pension. Salary was irregular. Lost track of what I was told. Up until Tuesday, I've not been paid my backlog. You know, but despite this, with this said, I loved the job. I think it really shaped me into who I am today. The tenacity, the curiosity to learn. I think developed, to make a significant impact. Right after that transition, in 2 years, I think I was really back on my feet. It wasn't all bad again, as I was said. I had the freedom to build one of the most ambitious, largest media owner in West Africa, participating in the strategy sessions to realize his dream of a proper media group, the radio stations, like I mentioned, across three different countries. We were doing 100-day festivals, with a small team of five, where that's the core team, and everyone came on and on per project basis. I was drafting strategy and roadmap documents, even beyond what my role was essentially was what was digital. But I resigned without a job lined up. I was exhausted, had a baby on the way, my mental health was in shambles, my physical health was deteriorating. That was when I discovered that I had high blood pressure in the family, and I could do better with my lifestyle. Yes. But during this time, I jumped right in, doing a lot of interviews. I spoke with everybody, every kind of job, oil and gas, non-profit, HNIs, fintech, media, betting companies, health tech, e-commerce, professional services, creative brand agencies, ad agencies. I landed some gigs. To be honest, one thing I don't brag about is for some I spent weeks or months and then I resigned because essentially, I was making a transition. So I was speaking to everybody, and still looking for, looking for a deal that I felt worked for me. So some jobs I didn't keep for very long. Some I was even asked to resign because it was obvious I was distracted. For it was a deep time of soul searching. Then dealing with all the issues I had to deal with. But then I think I'm going to share three tips, you know, through the course of the interviews, that I think got me through the final stage, and landed me, an offer. First sight is be authentic, appear genuine, embrace your true self. If you don't have an accent, don't force an accent, you know, be yourself, but come prepared, anticipate the common questions. They are, they are basic questions. Tell me about yourself, have your own angle to those kind of stories, come prepared, but be flexible. So let your natural instincts, just guide you as you go through that interview. That's the side tip. So the first tip will be when discussing your past experience, when that question is raised, I would say take your time to formulate your response. You might say, to provide, an instance. Let me, give you an instance. The question is, tell me about yourself or share your experiences with me. So I will go with something like, so to provide a thorough understanding, could you specify any particular experience from my CV that you'd like me to elaborate on? I want to be sure I meet your expectations. I think this approach, this sort of question is quite bold, yes. I think it makes you look confident, it makes you look thoughtful, and it's charming. It basically just reflects your preparedness without being overly prepared, and I think it just, showcases your accountability. That would be the first tip. The second would be, don't blab, keep your answers straight to the point, as concise as you can, and don't overwhelm the interview. And this will come from understanding the role, so you can aim for clarity and precision. For instance, when they ask you mistakes you've learned from, or your core skills, try to provide quantitative insights. So okay, how do you provide quantitative insight? You can say, so the question is mistakes you've learned from. Because I would say, I can recall four key instances that stand out. While my memory may be faded, these experiences remain vivid in my mind. And just take it from there. It just helps, to structure every response that you would like to provide. Uh, you know, when discussing skills, for instance, or generic statements, instead of going on to list them, I would say you bucket them. Instance, uh, question is what stands you apart? What are the skill sets you bring to this job? My response would be I'll categorize my skills into three main areas: technical, interpersonal, and commercial. Commercial is key. For technical, I have hands on experience with this and that, and I have knowledge of, experience, you've applied it over time, knowledge you know about it, but maybe the opportunities have not presented itself to use it. Then I go to interpersonal skills. In terms of interpersonal skills, I have managed four associates, a social media executive, a designer, an assistant, try to make a list of those, and we went on to achieve, try to then tie some results to all of those from your management, your team leadership skill set, you know. Then on the commercial side, is, I will go with something like I possess a solid understanding of X and Y within the industry, and its key players. So I think those kind of structures, when you bucket your skill set into three boxes, it helps you you know it helps you with showing that you're multi-talented, and then you understand that beyond activity, um, every activity should come with an outcome. There should be an achievement that's tied to that role. Um, the third tip would then be, you know, the conversation is going great, or not even going great, and then it's the end of the interview, and you've taken a look at the JD, you've digested what the job requirements are, and you just feel you've not put in your best foot forward. I think at the close of the interview, when you've not when there's still ample time left, I think you should then approach it the way you know a founder would. You're coming to finalize the deal. While many would thank the interviewers, I would say seize the last moment to make a compelling closing statement. You might say, this conversation has been very enjoyable than I expected, and I would love to, see it leads to a lasting, mutually beneficial relationship. So, please, do you have any specific questions or concerns for me? Perhaps point we didn't cover, or or even any reservation about my candidacy that I could clarify on. I think this basically just provides you opportunity to get feedback, and not wait for the email that comes right after the interview, and when you get this, try to keep it concise, make a case to every single experience you have, that the job description touches, every single thing, job description, your reference to every detail in the job description and your experience. Try to keep it concise, and then at the end, I think it's always nice to give the interviewer some takeaways, some things you've learned maybe about the company, something new you've learned about the job, something you learned about the interviewer's professional history. That's really it for me. This is quite a long one because it's something that is dear to my heart. I know what it's like to go into a new job hunting, and I hope someone has found this very useful. Please, if you have, share, let me know in the comments, and then please share with other job seekers or anybody you think that this will be valuable, will find this valuable. And don't forget, subscribe to the podcast. And let's keep this conversation going. I'm on X and on Instagram. Handle is Dirty Hip Hop Head, and the podcast handle is the Ahmed Podcast. Thank you, and see you next time.